Welcome, everyone, to another episode of our Value Prop podcast here. This is Jose Palomino, your host and CEO of Value Prop Interactive. And we've been talking about in the last couple of episodes where I've been just speaking directly to some important issues here. We were looking at the competitive edge, how to develop it. And then most recently, we started talking about 10 things you can do to reignite revenue right now. And last episode, we covered 3 strategic things you could do, things that would really make a difference if you just applied a little bit of effort to get there. We said you ask your best customers what they wish you did. So that gives you a picture into what they would like to get from the marketplace. We asked you to talk to your employees, your staff, and ask them what's missing in what we're doing. What's missing? That means their ideas, things they think would be cool. You'll hear all those things. And then identify your target customers' biggest challenges. So those are things that may have nothing to do with what you do, but they affect your customers, so they affect you. So today we're going to take that down a notch to your product. Now, if you're a services company, you're an accounting firm, you do audits, that's your product. If you're industrial services, you do painting or engineering, that's your product. If you're a contract manufacturer, you supply operations on metal on demand to make whatever it is that your customers want you to make for them, that's your product. And if you're an OEM, you actually make a branded product, a machine, something that you sell under a brand, that's your product. That's a product, and that's clear. This applies in all of these categories, especially in B2B. So the first thing you can do that really would make a difference in terms of your product is this: bundle a service with your core product, something you get asked to do anyway. So I learned this years ago when I was at Tandem Computers, and this goes, probably close to 30 years ago, in one of the early giants of the Silicon Valley before Apple was even Apple, and they were also based in Cupertino. And Tandem used to offer a ton of professional services, sizing and so on. These are $1 million mainframes. And that's why I started actually my career in sales and technology was at Tandem. And what we realized as the market got more competitive and margins got a little tighter, which may sound like a lot of you out there listening to this, we added professional services, which we were offering already, but we started actually pricing them in bundles as something that you would pay for additionally. So of course you'd get the basic installation, but if you wanted some configuration, if you wanted some systems analysis, things we would just give you before, now you had to actually choose it. And it was things we were already including, but now we found a way to monetize it. And what we found, which was really surprising to a lot of us on the team, 10,000 employees worldwide at the time, it was a Fortune 200 company. And yet there was a lot of scuttlebutt about, oh no, what are we going to do? We start charging for this, people are going to leave us. That didn't happen. What happened instead is people said, okay, that makes sense. In fact, they preferred it in many cases because it took something that was not quite a favor, but kind of informally offered and made it very structured and formally and therefore more accountable. So if you bundle a service, if you think about stuff you do now, and start saying, well, if we could actually charge for that, at least include it as a line item, and maybe you start out with your total purchase price is the same, you just show it a little differently. This is the core service, this is the thing we're adding to it that you were getting anyway, but now you start training your internal team and your customers to see that as a line item. Now, in some cases, it's stuff you don't do for everybody, but you wish everybody would ask you for it. So you say, well, we really think we would do better if we did a site survey every time we sold a piece of equipment. So now you start offering that. Before it used to be if they asked you for it, you came in, you weren't sure how to bill for it. Now you add that service and say, anytime you buy one of our pieces of equipment that exceeds, X dollars or this size unit, we need to do a site survey to make sure to ensure you have a successful install and that machine can be operational for you right away. And that costs X. By doing this, you actually start doing a couple of things. One, you will look to your customer that you have a more comprehensive service. They're not going to look down at you. They're going to say, oh, these people are thinking about everything. And two, you will absolutely, over the short and then especially the long term, impact revenue positively, because you're just going to have one more line item being added to what is being sold. But more importantly, it's a more complete solution. And a complete solution is what a lot of buyers want today. They want to know that if I turn the key, it's turnkey, everything I need. Don't tell me later I should have done this or that, because that's very frustrating for a buyer to hear. Now, one other thing that you could do, especially if you sell something that they're going to need more of over time, like a wear part, if you sell a machine, if you offer a service and let's say something as simple as you do audits, you're in a CPA firm, but there's always going to be phone calls throughout the year, you can bundle a subscription for that. That's the next thing. So this would be the 5th tip on things you can do to reignite growth. Ask your best customers, number one, what they wish you did. Ask your team what they think is missing. Identify your target customer's biggest challenge. Bundle a service with your core product, and now add a subscription for predictable repeat orders. Parts are the obvious ones, wear parts, anything like that. Anything you can actually put into a subscription model. Now, subscription doesn't always mean that your customer pays you monthly in the way that we think of magazines or software as a service. It could be an annual fee that covers X amount of hours of support. And when I was at Yankee Group, which is an early competitor to Gartner, we used to sell information products, research products, and we would include a bundle of hours for the year. Everything got paid up front, and it was basically consumed over the course of a year, but it made that not require a very complex process to acquire that knowledge. It was available, it was on demand, it was already paid for. And then this next one is really critical because it's going to sound similar, and you may pick it up in the prior steps I just described last week and this week, but I want you to think about it a little differently. And it is this: fix the number one customer complaint about your product or service. The number one customer complaint. This is not a wish list item. This is not something they kind of thought maybe it'd be a good idea if you did it. This is the number one complaint. The thing that when you have to field an issue, a problem, a challenge, something someone's not happy with, this is the number one thing. And chances are that number one thing has been there for a while. And maybe it's not been enough for you to actually have cancellations or loss of business outright, but it's eroding that stickiness that you want your best customers to have for you. And chances are it's something that prospects notice, may not tell you. We all know, if we sell for any length of time, that every sales process usually says, if you lose a deal, try to get a postmortem, find out why, because we want to learn, we want to know. And it's a hard thing to find out. It's hard to get a hold of a procurement VP at a major Fortune 500 company that chose one of 5 competitors, and you weren't one of them, on a competitive bid, to take the time to explain why they didn't choose you. That's hard to find out. So really identifying this is tough, but necessary. And you need to ask your team about this. You need to really have a mindset that I want to know what's the number one complaint. So I would start just by asking your team, if there's something our customers complain about, what is it? What's the number one thing? And you may have to stack rank them, but find that number one thing. And then here's the thing: it's not enough to know it, but then fix that thing. Whatever that thing is, if it's in your power to fix it, fix that thing. If you don't fix it, it will erode the confidence of your current customers and certainly erode your capability to win new business with new prospects, because probably everybody in that category would have the same complaint. It's something that's not satisfying them in what you're doing. And I know that's a little tough to the ego, especially if you're an owner-led business and your business is a reflection of you, your philosophy, your strategies, everything you've wanted to do for your customers. And also, all of a sudden, you have to confront the fact that maybe your baby's not the prettiest. That's hard. But here's the good news. It's fixable. It's only fixable if it's identified. And once you identify it and you fix it, boy, did that change things. This all of a sudden, it opens up new horizons for your current customers and certainly for prospects. It's the kind of stuff that will keep you from flaying away at something, not realizing you're losing business consistently because you lack a key feature, or the way you do something is frustrating. Maybe the way you're doing things, maybe the way you size things, the way you configure things, the way you do demos was exactly what the market wanted 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, maybe the opposite of what the market wants right now. Learn what that is and address it and start winning more and better business now. So on that note, until next time we get together, to your success. Thanks again. Hey, thanks for listening to another episode of the Revenue Throughput Podcast. If you like this episode and if you like the series, make sure you subscribe below. And also, if you liked it, please do review it. When people are looking for something exciting to listen to, especially the kind of content we're bringing, which is practical insights for B2B companies, this is a place and a free resource that they can take advantage of. Let them know about it with your review. So subscribe, review, enjoy. Thanks again.